Hi, my name is John Mejia, and I have these tissues here. I'm tough, but I cry a lot. So sometimes I can't get through it but we'll see. Well, by the way, that was special. My story is a story of faith, struggles, triumph, and I really don't know how to say it, really. I mean, sometimes my wife is not here today. Beautiful wife of 24 years in May. She is with my other daughter, Maddie Rose, in Orlando in a competition. So I am glad she's not here, and I'm also scared she's not here. She's my ATC, my air traffic controller. She looks at me and gives me winks. I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Okay, wait. So, oh well. We'll see what happens. But, my life is, it's been a life of really faith. And my background, I'm a Spanish-Italian Jew. Pretty confusing, but if you look in Obadiah 1:20, it speaks about Sephardim, which is the Sephardic Jews. They're the ancient word for Spain in the Hebrew language. And it says that the exiles from Jerusalem that live in Spain will also dwell in the south portion of Israel. So someday, I have a passion to live out there sometime, but it's all in. When I go to Israel, I don't want to come back, period. I have a hard time coming back to the U.S. I don't know why, but I just do. So my family, my mom, and my dad's side, all of them became to know the Christ, the Lord, through my grandmother. She's the one that converted to Christianity before I was born. My last name, Mejia, comes from the word Mashiach in Hebrew, which means anointed. That word anointed, it says, I heard a preacher said, those that are anointed, that are called for something are going to suffer quite a bit. And I'm not a special person. I'm just a guy that loves God. Ever since I was a little kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, from what I can remember, I always walked around and could barely speak, hardly, and my aunt said, you always said that you want to be a pastor. And I'm like, okay. So fast forward here in Birmingham, Alabama, a few years ago, Pastor Chris Hodges, I'm like, Pastor, I want to be a pastor. He's like, no, you don't. I'm like, what? You're a pastor? How can I be a pastor? Well, why? He goes, you are a pastor. I was like, I'm not a pastor. I'm a business guy. He says, in the marketplace. So my life has been a life of dealing with a lot of big challenges. So I came to the U.S. when I was 10 years old. I only knew 2 words, rooster and table. Why? I don't know. Don't ask me. I just know I like to eat. Maybe that's what it is. But I came through the jetway of JFK walking, and I saw the picture of Ronald Reagan. And I was with my brother and my sister. It's been 2.5 years that I haven't seen my parents waiting to come into this nation. Jimmy Carter was president then, then Reagan became president, I came here. So thank God for President Reagan. So I came to the JFK, and I saw the picture of Ronald Reagan, and my godfather said to me, it says there, welcome to America. And as a little kid, I cried. Because I thought, here I am thinking, I am in America, the greatest nation in the world, where the streets are paved of gold. And why did I say that? Because my uncle used to come visit us, and I would turn his shoes upside down, and I'd see these little sparkles. It's like, wow, the streets are made of gold in America. And I came to this country, like, man, this is the greatest, awesome thing. And here I am, 11 years old, when my mom and dad, brother and sister, and we went to Upper West Side Manhattan in a small 1-bedroom apartment, 392 square foot bedroom apartment. It was tiny. And I recall just being very happy, but all of a sudden, that American dream that I wanted to realize turned into an American nightmare. My father, for no reason that I can remember, left my mom, left us in a country with a mother working at a factory, 3 kids on welfare. I slept on the floor for 9 years. That was my bed. It was a futon. It was a thing that you turn, you open it up. And by the time I graduated high school, my feet stuck out this much. One time the building was abandoned for 6 months, no heat, no super, that's the guy that fixes the building. It was in chaos. Rats will land on my leg, I will kick them off my feet. One hit the wall so hard I heard a yelp, and I just went back to bed. That's how I lived. And why? Nothing goes to waste with God. So many of you are probably going through a lot of hardship right now, but believe me this, none of that hardship happens to you for no reason. Nothing goes to waste. So God prepares you for a lot of great things, but guess what? The higher the building, the deeper the foundation. So if your hole is it's deep, that means you're going to rise higher. And as I was a kid there, thinking of all of this, at one time I thought about, it was 12, 13, wanted to take my life. It's like, I'm done. This is too much. So my dad disappeared. I didn't see him for a few years. My mom ended up having a friend next door, apartment 4B, a drug den. That became my mom's boyfriend. He moved into our apartment. So SWAT team of New York City raided my apartment, 4A, when I was only 12 years old, with my grandmother there. So if you can imagine, 12, 15 guys with automatic rifles just running through my house, through my apartment, through the fire escape, busting the next door, trying to get these bad guys out of there. And I'm thinking, we're all going to die. This is the American dream. This sucks. This is bad. This is not where I intended to be. This is not what I want. God, what is this? And it became so bad that after all of that, you thought, hey, this is fixed. No, it got worse. This drug dealer moved into my house and would constantly beat my mom. 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And one time I got up at 13 years old, and I broke into that room with a baseball bat, New York Yankees baseball bat that I had. And I said, if you hit my mom one more time, I'm going to kill you. He had a gun, and I didn't care. I was done. And here I have my sister and my brother crying. I was 13. I witnessed people outside my apartment getting murdered just because they were going to buy drugs next door, and I don't know what happened. That person lost her life for no reason. Crackheads would knock on my door, and my brother became would take the drugs from my mom's boyfriend and sell it, and he would beat my mom saying that, hey, you're taking the drugs. And my mom had no idea. My brother was taking it and selling. My brother, he went into the mob. But today, he's an undercover cop, retiring in 6 months with the YMPD. Cop of the year 3 times in 20 years. He knew how to run the streets. He was a street guy. So just to paint you a picture of my life while I was growing up, I always dreamed of becoming a pilot. That was my dream. I always wanted to fly, ever since I was a little boy. And I recall just watching the airplanes just fly and say, I wonder what it'd be like just to be in the front of that aircraft, just flying and watching this view. And I dreamed about that. But yet I was poor, welfare, drugs, gangs, you name it, all around me. My dad disappeared. And my dad, because of my grandmother, my grandmother was a woman of faith. I recall going to her apartment in the Bronx and spending a lot of time with her. And she will always sit there in that little kitchen table in the Bronx. And she will recite verses. She didn't know how to write or read, but she knew the Bible. And she will recite verses from Old Testament. So I know the Old Testament very well because of my grandmother. Rose was her name, just like my youngest child. And she will speak to me life, just like they do in the Jewish tradition. They speak. That's why when you speak to your children, you speak to someone, you're sending out curse or blessing, just like Abraham did to Isaac to Jacob, all of them. It's very biblical. So she would sit there and said to me, and you shall be like a tree planted by the streams of water, bearing fruit in season. Your leaves will not wither, and whatever you do, you shall prosper. And she always told me that. I was born January 3rd. Psalm 1:3 became my psalm, became my life blessing. Although I was going through all this turmoil at home, that it became so tough. I wanted to be a pilot, yet I don't know how to do this. I ended up going to aviation high school in Queens, New York, through a miracle. I failed the exam to get in. It was a vocational school. It was not my local school. I failed the exam to get in. I also failed the interview. But I was like, I got to go back to that school and let them know that I want this so bad. They have no idea that I can't study in my house. I got all these parties going on and all these bad people in my house. And of course, my mom, loving mom, but she made some big mistakes just to provide. Awful. She's a born-again Christian today, by the way. She loves the Lord. John knows her well. But I remember being in this situation, and I was like, I want to come to this school. And I recall the principal looking at me, Dr. Pepinella, Italian guy. He said, kid, why do you want to come here? I said, this means the whole world to me. If you just let me come here, I want to be a pilot. But I don't know how to get out of the hood. I don't know how. And he looks at me, you really want to come here? I said, yes, sir, just give me a chance. I'll see you in September, he said. I ended up going to aviation high school, graduating, top in the class, and gaining a full scholarship, a full ride scholarship to Syracuse University. I wanted to go to the academy, but my mom was not a citizen, therefore I didn't qualify. Syracuse gave me a full ride, so I went to Syracuse. So God does things in your life, allows things in your life for a purpose. Your pruning is your purpose. It's not fun to get pruned. It is awful to get pruned. It's awful to go through trials and tribulations. But a lot of us ask God, what else? What more? You have no idea what you're asking, because at the end of the day, He's going to look at your heart. Can He trust you? Can He trust you? God loves everyone without condition. But He doesn't trust everyone. You must earn that. And the Lord allowed me to go through high school despite the issues that I had. I mean, I had to literally come home, come to the apartment at 6 o'clock after all my curriculum activities, and I will go to bed in that one bedroom and wake up around midnight after everyone was done partying and doing whatever the heck they were doing with earmuffs, get up, do my homework, eat dinner, and go to school. I did that for about 3 years. That's the only way I graduated high school, because I was desperately wanting to get out of there. But the time that I left, I never looked back. I went into college. Then I was thankful and gracious enough to join the military. I went into OCS Marine Corps, and they didn't have pilot slots. And I went through all the training, but I just didn't want to be Rambo. I just didn't look like a Rambo. I'm like, I don't want to be Rambo. I want to be a pilot. I ended up switching to the Navy without knowing what was going to happen. That year, 1995, I was selected, number 52 to get selected out of 60 pilots to go to flight school. Ended up being stationed down here in Pensacola. Became a naval officer and an aviator. I'm not the brightest light in the Christmas tree. I'm really not. But I'll stay lit the longest. I'll fight. I will fight. So I was surrounded by all of these kids, Naval Academy grads, and I felt like this. But yet I was in there, by the grace of God, flying jets in the Navy. And the Lord blessed me with that. He says he gives you desires of your heart. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So the Lord allowed me to go through all this, became a pilot. Then I was flying for U.S. Airways. I thought my life is it. First officer at U.S. Airways, now American. We were never early anywhere, by the way. Never, even back then. 67% is bad. So I ended up flying for them, and 9/11 hit. And when 9/11 hit, 2 years later, December 19th, 2002, I was furloughed. Thousands of pilots were without work. I was one of them. I became a first officer. Captains became FOs. First officers and FOs became nobodies. I was one of them. Here I am in Birmingham, Alabama. Didn't know anyone in the city. Married to this beautiful girl, newlywed, and I have nothing to offer. She is making $32,000 as a pharmaceutical rep. We're living in an apartment in Hoover, and I have no job. Well, I did get a job within a month or so, flying for Health South. I flew their Israeli jet. I was the corporate pilot. While I'm in training in Dallas, going through emergency procedures, watching the news, all of a sudden, Health South getting raided by the FBI. So what? I call my chief pilot. Do I still have a job? Oh yeah, you do. That's just formality. They're just going to check up on Bottom line is, a few months later, I'm landing from Cancun on a business flight. I get $937 paycheck, and they said to me, "Sorry, John, we're selling the airplane. Our boss is going to jail." And I was out of a job again. So I got in my little car. I used to call him Puff the Magic Dragon. It's a blue little Corolla, 120,000 miles. Cranked it, smoke everywhere. Everybody knew where I was. I got in that car and I'm like, Lord, here we go again. What am I going to do? And I am praying. I'm believing in this Psalm 1:3, but yet my life is just like in shambles. It got to the point that we were buying food with credit cards at the apartment that we lived in. My wife's making all the money. We're paying $760 in rent. And I am feeling like this. I can't find work. I ended up interviewing to sell cars at Hoover Toyota on Highway 150, Mercedes-Benz, Highway 150. No. Actually, the lady that took my resume from Hoover Toyota, she looked at me and she's like, took a smoke. "Don't call us, we'll call you." I'm like, okay. Say, I'm in this job. So I'm like, okay. So bottom line is, I didn't get a call from any of that. Parisian selling shoes. I'm sure some of you ladies have been there before. Yeah. They didn't call me back. And Highway 150, Home Depot. I fill out the application on the computer. I'm like, I'm sure going to get this. No. I interviewed with 22 pharmaceutical companies, and I got to the last piece of the interview, and they looked at me. It's like, "You're an airline pilot. Why would you want to do this?" I said, "Because it's a great job." "No, you're going to go back to flying. They're going to call you back. You're going to go back to flying." I said, "You have no idea." "No, I'm not." Sorry. So I was getting very depressed, very low. Here I am, not knowing what was going to happen to me. Scared, you name it. And then I saw a newspaper ad that said, "Sheetrocking homes for $10 an hour." I looked at it, and I said, "It's honest work. I'm going to apply." I went and applied. Gave the lady my resume. Probably the only sheetrocking guy that gives a resume. She looks at me and she says, "Can you sheetrock?" I said, "No, but I can learn." "Sorry, we're too busy." That was April 2003. And I just came out of that interview feeling like a nobody. The enemy in my head was saying to me, "You're nothing, John Mejia. You're just a piece of dirt. You're not worth anything." To make matters worse, I walked myself into the bank, to buy me a Subway sandwich, like $6. My ATM card kept getting denied. I was like, what's going on? I walked inside the bank and I said, ma'am, something's wrong with the ATM. Can you help me out? She says, sorry, sir. Nothing is wrong with the ATM card. You only have 13 cents in your account. And that's when I broke down. I went back to my apartment and I cried out to God. I was mad. I looked at the ceiling. I said, why are you doing this? Everything I do, everywhere I turn, it's no. I'm living in lack. I'm suffering. Don't you care? And I'm sitting there, nothing. You know, sometimes, most times, when you're going through a test to elevate you, God wants to speak to you. It's like a school proctor. You know, the teacher's talking, you're taking notes, and you're talking. The moment the test comes, wham. Can you please answer this question? I kind of don't understand this. He's like, nope. Just he was going to be quiet because it's your time. Because God is going to elevate you to a position that you don't even fathom. But yet he has to trust you. Can he trust you? Will you be courageous like Joshua? Not afraid. And do it. See, the currency in the kingdom is faith. Replace fear with faith. Replace it. Fear is false evidence appearing real. That's all it is. But hey, I've been fearful. I have. Many times. Sometimes I doubt. I'm a human being. But I know a God that has shown me miracles after miracles after miracles. I can sit here for hours and tell you. And as I'm sitting here, you know, just what am I going to do? I'm yelling at God. And as I'm yelling, what do I do now? Tell me, what do I do now? As peaceful as I'm talking to you, I heard a voice right here. And it said, get into real estate. I looked up at the ceiling. I wiped my tears. And typical Israelite. Real estate? Seriously? I'm a pilot. Really? And then I heard it again. 2 words. Yes, real estate. Guys, I have zero background in business. Zero. I skipped. Tell my daughters now that I got an Auburn sophomore and a junior in high school. I took Econ 101 and 102. I went to class maybe 4 times. I was a science major. I studied math and physics in college. And barely did that. So no business background. Real estate, what? Really? So I did what I was supposed to do. And I thought I was supposed to just, go sell houses. I don't know. What else I'm going to do? I don't know anybody, no one. So I ended up taking the test. Take the real estate exam. I got a 69. I failed it. That was not God. That was the devil. I'm such a hardhead. I can be a jarhead. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what now? And I went back, and God bless my wife. She was here. Y'all meet her one day. She's beautiful. She said, I believe in you. Take it again. So I went back, and I noticed where I failed. It was in the law part. So I studied harder. Passed it with a 76. I was a broker. My mother-in-law worked for me back then. She got a 95. So I ended up selling real estate. And guys, I'm going to tell you this. It was such a great thing because all of a sudden I started doing deals. It was like a knack, so like naturally. Within 6 months, I was actually sitting in my computer in the bullpen, I called it. And I have my little computer that I bought with a credit card. And and I have my picture of me there next to my airplane in the Navy. And the Lord spoke to me. Take that picture off. You're not a pilot anymore. You're a businessman. And I deleted it. And it's like this, all my desire to fly went away. It's crazy. And I still fly, but it's not like that. It's like I could care less if I fly. I want to be in the back, hanging out. It's more comfortable. So I ended up doing that, and all of a sudden, I just started doing deals. Within 6 months, I was doing so well. I went to Remax. Within a year, I was Rookie of the Year. Another 2 years after that, I opened up my own company. In 2007, on January 3rd, my birthday. Guess what happened in 2007? Market crash. Boom. People are like, man, you took the best time to start a real estate company. You're such a smart guy. And I'm like, I know the voice that I heard. I know the voice that I heard. January, February, I had 2 deals, bad deals. One of them was lying about their foundation. I said, I'm not going to close it, not going to do it. And the other one was a fraud and a mortgage fraud, second closing, not going to do it. It was potential $30,000. My broker took 10 listings that I had in my previous company, and $37,000 that they owed me, they didn't pay me. So I was big fat zeros. And I had a baby in the way. 2 girls now. So I ended up going through that, but God is real. God is real. That year ended up being the most successful year that I've had in my whole career to that point. In October 2007, worst part of the economy, only 1 month alone, I made $103,000. And the Lord started blessing me with all of these foreclosures. I was doing foreclosures. A Jewish man that retires at the beach, he lives in Destin now. He said, John, when I was a rookie, he said, do this BPO, broker's price opinion for this bank. It'll pay you off one day. That was my first listing, my first sale. I made like $430 some. I'm serious. A little crack house with a patient, a AIDS patient, needles everywhere. That was my first deal. And I said, boom, boom, I took pictures. I ran out of there. I made $430 some. I'm like, man, I can make money doing this. This is pretty cool. That was my first deal. So when God gives you something, do it right. Don't think that you are so much better because, like John was saying, well, how dare you? I'm supposed to be here. No, take it. Work with it because God is testing you. He's equipping you. If you are going to do great things for God, He's going to equip you and mold you first. You're going to go through the ranks. You can't become an officer right away. And guys, I went ahead through all this, and the Lord just blessed me, inundated me with business so much that I had to hire 17 brokers from the state, from Huntsville to Mobile. I have brokers, and they were all just going and we're selling it. All of a sudden, my business exploded, and I am walking in Disney World with my 2 little girls, with six full-time employees and 17 brokers. And I'm just walking, and I'm just a big commission machine. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden they hit me. If I die, kind of morbid thing to think, but in Disney, but if I die, what am I going to leave them? I'm just like this big fat hamster on the wheel. And I said this word. I said this, Lord, show me how to create wealth. And God immediately answered to me. You know, when God speaks to you, you're probably wondering, how does God speak to you? Well, you have to spend time with someone before you get to know their voice. Every morning I get up, and this is what the first thing I do. I spend about an hour and a half each day to God. Prayer, meditating, journaling, every single day. Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you. So when I made this request to God, He spoke to me, and He said, get into apartments. And it scared me. I said, apartments? I'm barely worth $200,000. Apartments are millions. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? It's up to you to believe. It's up to God to make it happen. So God is going to call you to do things that are going to scare the living sense out of you because He wants to make sure that when you achieve it, you give Him the glory, not you. God is going to do some amazing things. It's going to blow your mind. It's for His glory, not yours. So I went ahead and I started getting to reading books and what have you. And the Lord put in front of me an investor that needed help with 10-unit apartment that he was going to lose. And guess what? I ended up helping him. And by helping him, I ended up learning it and growing it. See, in the kingdom, it's not selling, it's serving. That's the kingdom. You don't sell, you serve. So God provided this opportunity, and I grew through this opportunity and learned. And guys, all of a sudden, I'm going to fast forward to 2012. It took me 13 months to buy my first apartment complex. It was a God thing, the way God designed it. Here I am driving up 280, cresting the hill by Highland Lakes. I'm literally saying this. I'm like, Lord, this is the toughest thing I've ever done. How am I going to buy an apartment? This is tougher than flight school, tougher than I've ever faced in my life. And the Lord just gave me peace. See, I walked with $300 into the bank. I said, hey, I want to start an investment company, to my banker, Henry Mize. He goes, okay, great. Every month I came by, hey, how's that going? Nothing. Hey, how's that going? Month 10, nothing. Month 11, nothing. A year, nothing. And every time I came, he kept asking me. And then month 13, I walked in. Hey, how's that going? Because I got a contract. I got a deal. The Lord brought me this whole thing, apartment complex in Augusta, Georgia. I was trying to help someone. I was just trying to help them raise money, put some investors together. I barely could put anybody together. Seriously, I have $150,000. Like, what, you're a pilot? You were a pilot realtor. Now you're going to buy apartments? I don't know about that. So I ended up helping this guy. He ended up losing the deal. The broker looks at me. He's like, hey, you're the equity guy. I'm like, really? And the Lord said, make an offer. I said, Lord, I can't make an offer. I said, we're $5 million. How the heck am I going to do that? Believe. And I did that. I made the offer. And the Lord all of a sudden put in front of me a person that said, hey, John, I helped him sell a house, and he was a developer. And he came up to me, he's like, hey, I used to do apartments. I want to get back into it. What do you know about that? I said, actually, I got a deal. So the Lord used him to become my sponsor, uses liquidity and net worth and everything to get the deal done. And it was in Augusta, Georgia. And out of the blue, a few divine appointments, because I pray for wisdom and divine opportunities every single day. And all of a sudden, this investor out of Florida calls me. He's a pro golfer. He says, I hear you had these apartments in Augusta, Georgia. Would you mind me investing with you guys? I said, I don't know. Who are you? He tells me. And I'm like, well, and it's just talking really big. We can get this done right away. I need $1.5 million. And I said, look, here's my wire instructions. Call me if you have it. Otherwise, don't waste my time. I was trying to be all New York City tough. Okay, then click. Money. All of a sudden, my bank account said, hey, you got a wire coming in for $1.4 million. And I'm like, what? No papers signed. Nothing. All of a sudden, the Lord put this deal together. And boom, here I was in business 13 months later. Within 4 months, we bought almost 800 units. Then my business started expanding. I went from Alabama, Georgia, to Carolinas, Florida, Tennessee, you name it. Started building this company. Over 4,000 units. Then started developing in 2015. And now we are in 9 different states. Why do I say that? Because God is real. My third apartment that I bought was those apartments across the street where I was broken down with only 13 cents in my bank account. If you would have told me then, John, look outside. You see those apartments? I know you're broken. You're going to own them in 9 years from now. I would have said, no way. 220 units. God is real. God is powerful. And the Lord has been depositing this in me that, John, my wife says that I'm ADHD. I'm like high definition HDHD, and I'm like almost bouncing around. And I was driving. I was telling John, and that I was late for the call, the second call, and I was driving, and I'm listening to everyone praying over souls and healing. I'm like, Lord, why do you have me in this call? I'm a real estate developer. Why? I said, and it's just the enemy speaking, because he thinks the body of God. Many Christians think that they don't need to prosper. Okay, this is sin. It's not a good thing. It's a dirty thing. No, that's the enemy. Lack and poverty is a curse. It's a curse from Satan himself. As I was sitting there, literally thinking this and praying over it, all of a sudden a car got in front of me on 280. You know what the license plate said? Prosper. God is in the business of making Abound. Honestly, this is how flighty I can be. We were talking about Abound. I'm like, I'm not connecting the things, and here I am, this happens. So God is in the business of making things great. Spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially. Prosperity is not the goal. The goal is God, but it's a byproduct. See, God lives in abundance. The enemy has a budget, not God. Okay? In the anointing, money in physical life, it's like the anointing to the spiritual is how things get done. God is not a God that's going to drop a bunch of money in front of you. No, he's not. But he says he's going to give you the power to create wealth. So ask him. Just whisper your name. That's how he talks to you. The way you hear it, that's how he speaks to you. The closer you get to him, the more you get to know him. There are no boundaries with God. Zero. And many of you have struggles financially. You may be a business owner that is, everything's going well, but your structure, it's not sound. Because one wall in a house could be up and the others are down. It's not a perfect structure. God calls us to be perfect in him. The kingdom is within you. Luke 17:21. It's within you. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. My stalker's not here. But I was at his house talking to a few of his small group. And Mike looked at me and said, John, there's a lot of 1-3s in your life. And I didn't realize it. 13 cents in my bank account. 13 months to buy my first apartment complex. I just started my 13th year. And we had the biggest transaction ever. Literally 2 weeks ago. Psalm 1:3. God is real. He's so powerful. Don't doubt him. Healing. Physical. He can take it. Your needs, emotional needs, you're broken. Give it to him. Surrender. Business owner, you're doing too much. You're feeling exhausted. That's because you're carrying the weight. Give it to God. Give it to God. Sometimes I have no idea what I'm doing. I really don't. Sometimes I ride to a gold mine with a broken GPS and an outdated map. I have no clue how I got there. But it's because God, he is faithful and true. And it's when you seek him, you will see him in every facet in your life, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. God wants to give you abundance. And there's 12 key principles, which I do not have time to go over them, how to create wealth and abundance. The first one, the first key, the Lord dropped this on me in my library at 2:30 in the morning. I was shaking. I just kept hearing, and I just kept writing. He said, I put my prayer shawl. I use a prayer shawl to pray in the morning. He said, take it off. Write what I'm about to tell you. I wrote 12 key principles. First key, identity. Who are you? Who you are. The moment the devil convinces you of something else, you've lost. What was the first thing that Jesus was faced with? If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. Identity. Second key, source. Who is your source? Your source. Abraham was wealthy. Lot was doing well as well. But when he said, hey, let's divide this because we're having too much issues, he told Lot, you pick. Lot picked the lush land, all the water and everything. And Abraham was left with the bare land. Lot went on his way. Abraham went on his way. As Abraham was walking, God said to him, look north, east, south, and west. Everything you see, I will give you. Abraham's source was God. Lot was money. He ended up broken and with a salty wife. There's only two masters. Jesus said it. God and money, not Satan. Two masters. Money is a spirit. Money will make you do things if you do not use it right. He's a great servant, but a horrible master. But God says, allow me to be your source. And you're going to see what I can do. Now, God has deposited some big things in my head. I'm like walking again in Disney World with my two little girls. It's because He just pours so much in me and I just want to do so many great things for the kingdom. But I'm a business guy. I'm a real estate guy. I love developing real estate and developing leaders. Just have a passion for it. It's who God made me to be. The third source, I'm going to use four only. Third source, courage. When Joshua was about to go into the land, he was afraid. Do not be afraid. Be courageous. Courage. Those of you that are afraid, want to start something, I don't know if I can do it. You question your identity. It's not you, it's God. Who's going to be my source? God. Have courage. The fourth key, faith. Call those things that are not as if they were. I have seen miracles, y'all. I just started saying that about a year ago. Year and a half. I like it. I've seen some great miracles. And I'll leave you with this. When I was 7 years old, that's when I experienced God a mighty, mighty way. My mother and my grandmother showed up to my aunt's doorstep, and the Spirit was tearing me up. Something was going on. Something is wrong. I said, my aunt calls me. Say, hey, come down. Your mom and your grandmother are here. And I ran downstairs and I greeted them. My mom was not looking well. My strong spiritual grandmother, woman of faith, little Jewish woman about that high, but with dynamite. She looks at me, let's go home. And I said, it's my dad, right? She goes, yes. We went home. And here I am home with my mom, my grandmother, and my brother and sister. All of a sudden, the phone rang, saying that my dad has passed away. My dad was involved in a motorcycle accident. There were 3 guys. The motorcycle guy he was killed. My dad was thrown off the motorcycle, cracked his helmet in half. And the guy behind him got hurt, not very bad, but severely. They called and I heard my mom crying, saying, no, God, no, God, no, no, no. My grandmother did not shed a tear. They're talking about her son. She grabbed me and said to me, let's go pray. We sat, nailed over a couch, 70s looking couch, green with a hard plastic on it. And all I recall, when I knelt down, I was just saying one prayer. And she didn't pray. I started praying. I said, Jehovah, whip the devil. And every time I said it, I saw this archangel coming in and whipping the satanic being on his back. And the moment I said it again, Jehovah, whip the devil. And Jehovah, whip the devil. I said it for several minutes. The phone rang again, saying that my dad was alive. That was the first miracle that I experienced. Supernatural. You want to walk in the supernatural? Give God a chance. Live in the kingdom. There's no lack in the kingdom. It's not normal to die. It's not normal to live in fear. It's not normal to live in lack. It's not normal. We're not supposed to. Live in the kingdom. Jesus said, the kingdom is at hand. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Religion takes earth and tries to put it in heaven. Jesus said, I'm bringing heaven to earth. Walk in power. Walk without fear, with courage, faith. Believe me, it happens a lot, but you're going to encounter battles, but it's for your good because he's called you to do something greater and you're going to need him. Thank you all.